In the book, you said that you were planning to bring your mother over, and that's when COVID hit. Are you still going to bring her over?
I would love to. I would love to have all of them come, my birth mother and my birth sister. It's very complicated for them to come here. They have to go through a number of steps in order to do that. They have to travel to Bucharest. They have to, take an interview and an exam, and they really have to go through a lot of hoops in order to make a simple trip to come here. So as much as I would love for that to happen, realistically speaking, it would probably be easier for me to go back there and visit them. Even though it's not easy for me either. I have 3 little kids and a full-time job and all of that, but I really do hope that I can go back one day and I would just be able to spend more quality time, because the reunion was just about soaking everything in and taking it all in. And I think the next trip would be just more about time spent with one another, and that would be really meaningful.
Do you still FaceTime with your birth mom? Because I know you do with your sister, but what about your birth mom?
I definitely communicate with my birth sister, Monica, much more frequently. My birth mother can't read or write, which makes it. And so in order for us to FaceTime or anything like that, we would need a translator. So that kind of adds a layer of complication. But from time to time, there are relatives that do offer to translate if we do want to talk, which is really nice. And we try to do that. But a lot of the communication that happens goes through Monica. If I want to send a message to her, or she wants to send a message to me, and she's kind of that middle person, it's a little easier to communicate.
I have one more question. I'm sorry. I'm
no question.
I'm just
sorry.
You also said that when you came back, a lot of your family that you've never met or knew started to reach out to you, and they were so happy that you had gone down and so forth. How does that feel? How did that feel?
Yeah, I remember coming back to the hotel that night and packing and getting ready to leave the next day. And all of a sudden my phone was just blowing up, getting so many alerts. Hi, I'm your first cousin. Hi, I'm your other cousin. I've heard stories of you my entire life. I'm so glad that you have been able to reconnect with your birth mom. I can't believe you're in Romania. I would love to get to know you. So many of these types of messages started coming in. And at first I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. And then I kind of, took a step back and realized, wow, like all of these people want to get to know me. It felt nice. It felt like I had a bigger family in a sense, because I grew up having a very small family, and all of a sudden all of these people just wanted to get to know me, and they were just so happy that this reunion happened. So it was a good feeling. It was really nice.
Do you have this isn't a question, but we've had some authors come in to talk to us, and really your book is so well written. And it holds your attention, and the way listening to you speak, you're a very good speaker too. It's very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
I was wondering.
I have a question. I want to know how your mom likes the bathroom.
Yeah.
Good question. That was is everyone familiar with this bathroom reference, or should I give some context?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that was really something that ate at me for a very long time when I got back, and I knew that I
thought that was so sweet.
It really did eat me alive, and I couldn't believe that so much time had passed, and yet her life was still so difficult in so many ways. And I just wanted to see if I could help improve her life you know, in the slightest way with a toilet, which isn't the most glamorous gift, but you know, it was just something that I really wanted to do for her. So, you know, I made arrangements, and I know she had sent me photos of progress being made, but I haven't seen, you know, a final product yet. So
Okay.
once I'll make sure to share it.
That's great. Do you have any memories before you know, of leaving or anything?
I don't. I really
No.
have no recollection whatsoever.
And how about Monica? Does she remember when you left? Because she was a little bit older.
That's right. No, Monica is 3 years older than me. And what happened was our living arrangement was a little different. So Monica is a half sister. She had a different biological father. And his family was a lot more involved and offered to help care for her a lot more than my birth father and his side of the family did. So what ended up happening was Monica really lived with some of that extended family for a period of time. We weren't even necessarily living together all at once. And unfortunately, my birth father abused alcohol. He abused my birth mother to the point where she had spinal injuries. And it made it very difficult for her to care for me. And that was definitely a piece to why she put me up for adoption for safety reasons, because he would go out and he would drink and he would come back and be very abusive. And it wasn't really a safe environment, where Monica wasn't necessarily in that environment as much because she was living with extended family. So, so Monica, it was just a little bit different for her, and she never knew about me, and I never knew about her. And my parents actually didn't even know about Monica, which was interesting because my mother even said, you know, had I known that you had a sibling, you know, we may have even considered adopting her as well. But that information was never disclosed because she was never being put up for adoption. It was just me.
Interesting.
I
It's a
like
great
one
story.
more question. When did the crying stop?
When did what
Remember
stop?
as a baby, when you were a baby, you just kept crying and crying and crying? When did it
Oh.
stop?
When did it stop? Oh God, I don't know. Hopefully after that. I don't know how much my parents think of that. That's funny.
I found that really interesting though, you know, that you would just scream and scream and scream and you know, it's as a baby and you're being pulled away from everything you know, from everyone you know, and then the language barrier because you couldn't communicate with them either. I mean, that really takes a toll on you. I'm going to share a little bit of me with you. So, I mean, I'm not adopted, but my mother left me when I was 2. And when I came back to see my mother, I was 6 years old. And I didn't know her. So that separation has always been there, which is, you know, it makes me feel like, I don't know, I always tell my mom, was I adopted? Because that separation is always there. And it's interesting the way you feel and what you remember as a child.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Wow.
I've never been on an airplane, let alone a car. So it was a lot of changes at once. But I think that, you know, I have little kids, and one thing with children is that they're so resilient and they're so
Yes.
adaptable, and they adapt to their new environment so quickly.
Mhm.
And I find that fascinating. And I think that's just what happened. I just, you know, just quickly adapted to my new environment and my new life. And I really don't have any memories. It's just what I learned along the way.
Wow. Which is probably a good thing
Mhm.
to not
I
have,
think-
you know, any traumatic memories kind of.
Absolutely. I mean, I think of older children who were in an orphanage setting, which, you know, many other adoptees that I've communicated with were in an orphanage setting. And I was living with my birth mother in the home for 2 years. So that was kind of a unique situation. And, you know, she had said that she really did want to make it work. She really did try to make it work, which is evident in the fact that she took me home from the hospital that day and did try for 2 years. And then life just became so hard for her that when she was approached and asked if adoption was something that she would consider, you know, she really thought about it long and hard, and she wanted to know where I was going, where if she would be able to meet my adoptive parents. And she really did want to have, she wanted me to have more than what she could provide for me.
I'm sorry,
Are you
no, I'm
okay?
sitting on my foot.
Okay.
I'm trying to put it back down, make it fell asleep.
Does anybody else have a question?
Just, I wanted to echo what Kathy said. I'm out of frame, but I'm here. That I really enjoyed reading the book. I thought it was so interesting. It was really well paced, well written. I thought it was like so, there's so much vulnerability, right? To like write this really personal, painful stuff. And I thought you had so much compassion with your birth family as far as like being able to recognize the really difficult choices that they had to make. So I appreciated reading like how you came to terms with that and how you felt about it, because I don't know if put in the same position, you know, anybody else would have that kind of insight and patience and understanding for someone making that choice.
Thank you. Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for saying that. And it, you know, I think having met them and just seeing what kind-hearted people they were and how open they were to meeting me, and the instantaneous love that they just showed, you know, it just made me feel that way so quickly that I just, you know, I connected with them. They were celebrating me. It was almost like I was this long lost relative returning home after all of these years. And that's what it felt like. They were literally showering me with gifts. They stood in a line handing me bags and bags of gifts for me, for my children, for my husband. It was just never ending. They had a cake. They had a cake made with my family photo on it, saying like, "Welcome home, Adriana."
Wow.
Just the lengths that they went to show me love, show me that they care, show me that they're so happy to meet me and so happy to connect with me, and just show that they want to have a relationship in some way and just be a part of one another's lives was so beautiful. And I just saw what kind people they were.
I
And,
think that,
and while we're saying that, I just was thinking about your parents who raised you.
right.
They, what a, you know, they were such a, you know, was such a gift for you. I mean, you're so grounded and like, you know.
That's what
I
I
don't
was
know,
going
I
to say.
say.
It's, yeah, you know, you're twice blessed having, obviously, you don't talk that much about your birth parents, but it sounds like you had a wonderful childhood and close relationships. So you have that, and then to be reunited with the second family who you feel all this warmth from is just
So thank you for
really
that.
a double blessing.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, that conversation was not an easy one to have with my mother, that I was looking to conduct a birth family search and then even furthermore, take a trip out there to meet everyone.
Right.
And that's a very common thing and common struggle that adoptees have with their birth families, because we feel this sense of loyalty, right? We are so loyal to our parents because they did raise us. They are our parents in every way possible. And, you know, adoptive parents feel this level of rejection when their child, you know, expresses interest in learning more about their birth family and learning and wanting to connect with them, and not in a selfish way and certainly not in a malicious way, but I think it's just this feeling that comes over them. And, you know, that's a struggle that many adoptees have, kind of approaching this conversation. And it wasn't easy because adoption was always a very sensitive subject for my mother, you know, to the point where if we talked about anything adoption, her eyes would just swell up with water. It was so hard for her to talk about it. And, I think that's so interesting too, because today the adoption community is so large and there are so many organizations and platforms out there, especially with social media, that really welcome everyone in the adoption triad, the adoptee, the adoptive parent, the birth parents. And there's just so much support that exists today that did not exist when I was growing up. We just didn't talk about these things when I was growing up. My mother certainly didn't have support. I didn't really know that many other adoptees, or I didn't really talk about my adoption much at all growing up. And it's just incredible now how there's so much support and resources and education and more awareness that exists today that just never was. And it's nice because I can actually have these conversations with my mom now about these things, and she engages in all of my speaking engagements and all my posts on social media, and we can have these conversations that we never really had before. So I think that's really nice.
When did they tell, did you always know that you were adopted from a young age? Because sometimes that's.
Yes, that can happen too, where people find out later on in life, and that can be incredibly difficult to process. So I am really grateful that my parents did from day one always communicate that I was adopted. We did have conversations about being adopted. The degree of openness is debatable. I think they always kept it pretty generic. They always kind of told me, your birth mother just wanted a better life for you. And, they kept it very generic. So when I uncovered on my own that I was brought up in Roma or Gypsy society, and that all of these different things, and then I had a sister, and it was pretty incredible, all the things that I was able to find on my own. And I think that, they definitely did the best that they could at the time with having these open conversations. But I think that's also, something that's just talked about in the adoption community is like, how open are you? Are you really open? Are you really having these honest conversations, with your child? And are you really disclosing everything, all the details, the full story? Because my mother did know that I was born Gypsy, and she never shared that with me. And I asked, why would you not share that with me? That's a really big piece of my story. And she had told me that she didn't want me to feel any stigma associated with being Gypsy. And, I think that's a lesson learned there, that it's really important to share all the pieces that and to let your child really process that in their own way. Because if anything, knowing that makes me more appreciative for the life that I have now, because the life that my sister lives is very different. Women don't have access to an education. They don't have the level of independence. They don't have the level of opportunity in that community. Sure. And, like I mentioned, my birth mother she can't read or write. And many people in my birth family did not have access to any of those things. So I think if anything, that's a big piece of my story. And it really gives me a different kind of appreciation for where I am today.
Did you mention in your book that the marriages there are arranged?
Yes. Thank you for
And,
bringing
and
that
your
up.
sister got married when she was very young. She was about 14?
Yes. Arranged marriages are still practiced, and how it works is they pretty much find you a match as early as age 12 or 15. And yes, my sister did have an arranged marriage very young, and that would have been my life as well.
Wow.
I appreciated that you put kind of like what the cuisine was like, and that you tried to learn a few words to talk to your family. Do you still, have you tried making like any recipes, or have you asked your sister to like give you some tips?
That's funny. Yeah, I'm a big foodie, so food was definitely part of the trip. I really did enjoy the food there. Although if you're a vegetarian, there's no way you'll survive in that country, I have to say.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know.
Very
You're
meat
vegan, you can't go.
I think when I returned, I don't think I could get any of my rings on. My fingers were swollen. I was like, oh God. But no, the food was really delicious. I enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm not a big cook. I enjoy eating, but I'm not a big cook. So I haven't really cooked too many things, but you know, I kind of picture in my head that, you know, when that day comes, if and when I make the trip back to Romania, that is something that I would love to do with them and just cook with them and just, you know, take part in some of their daily things that they do. And I think that would be really nice to connect in that way. And I do. I loved the food. There was sarmale, which is stuffed cabbage. And it was
There was a dish, however, that you ordered because you wanted to please your family and you couldn't eat it. Your birth mother noticed and she just looked at you.
that was
Oh, the
"It's
tripe
okay."
soup. Tripe soup, yep.
Yes, I was really trying to be open-minded and try some traditional, authentic Romanian dishes, and I made the mistake of ordering the tripe soup, and I could not get it down. At my birth mother's face, she's looking at me like cracking up, saying, "No, you don't like that." And I'm like, no, I don't. I'm sorry. So it was pretty funny. I hope I didn't offend anyone because that certainly wasn't my intention. But
No.
yeah, no, could not get that tripe soup down.
Well, this has been just great. Did anybody have any more questions over there?
No, I
No.
think we're good.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm good.
It's very good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so
Karen.
much.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Tina.
having me and for tuning in tonight. It was great speaking with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.